Well, it's that holiday you've been waiting for since July. Good morning and welcome to the morning edition of Joy News Interactive. My name is Kwame Nkrumah. Coming up in this edition, Nkrumah the greatest?
The best material for Africa. Today, what we saw today, selfishness, greediness, stealing, one day to become a rich.
Well, here's some very interesting thoughts on what people make of Ghana's first president. Now, have you heard of National Anas Mask Day? I'll tell you more about that particular movement gradually gathering momentum on social media. Also on the show today, we bring you updates from the just ended Emmys where the Game of Thrones series made history. And the show is proudly brought to you by Airtel. Enjoy longer text and more talk time on Airtel. Too much packs. Dial *202# to be a part of it. Let's get interactive right after this.
Joy News Interact.
Well, and as usual, you can always get through to us via many social media platforms. On Facebook, it is facebook.com/Joy News on TV. We have the same handle on Twitter as well, and you can also send us an email on joynewsim@multitvworld.com. That's joynewsim@multitvworld.com. You could as well send us a WhatsApp message on 0560-800,000. That's 0560-800,000. So the country marks Founders Day today, September 21. It's the day Ghana's first president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was born. Now, while some say he's the greatest the country has ever seen, others think otherwise. Now, before we hit the streets and get you what many of you have been saying on the streets of Accra, let's bring you a playback of what some very two youthful guys this morning in the studio said about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Nkrumah is the greatest ever. And you cannot reduce Nkrumah to Ghana. Nkrumah is the greatest Africa ever had. And that's why BBC voted Nkrumah as the greatest African of the millennium. Indeed, some people would have wanted to use the Nobel Prize as others won as the basis to have credited Nkrumah or qualified Nkrumah as the greatest in Africa or Africa ever had. But that is quite ludicrous because this is BBC that conducted, let me say, a survey in Africa, and Africans in general came to the conclusion that Nkrumah is the greatest we ever had. And let me.
So you think because the BBC says Nkrumah is the greatest based on the survey that they conducted, that for you he is?
That is not the basis, and that could not be the basis in the sense that, look, we were once somewhere before 1957. Where was Africa? What was the state of Africa? We were in total abject despondency in this very, very continent. Everyone saw the black man as someone so inferior. We had the UGCC, Nkrumah broke out of it and inspired a new confidence that in every generation you would have people who would do something so different. That's why through the youth, he formed the CPP and told them that we need independence now. And so was it. But the independence struggle that was sparked by Nkrumah wasn't something that was limited to Ghana in the sense that the wave of independence struggle irradiated everywhere in Africa. You had the greatest legacy of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is the fact that he told all of us as black that the black man is not inferior to any other race. And you cannot have anything than that.
Is he the greatest ever?
I think that if we were to judge him based on Manaf's standards, then I honestly think Nelson Mandela is the greatest ever on the African continent because he actually led a liberation movement that has made blacks in South Africa really believe that they are now equal to the whites, where people are marching and demanding for greater equality, something that you wouldn't see in Ghana because we are in a country where we realize people have inferior attitudes to the whites. But the thing I have with Nkrumah being the greatest, especially even in the context of Ghana, is that whenever we talk about Nkrumah, we put him all together in one. But I think there were two faces of Nkrumah that we need to acknowledge. The first face of Nkrumah being the Nkrumah who was there for independence, and I think that man was a great man who helped us a lot as a country. But when you move to the Nkrumah after independence, who led Ghana, I think that is where the questions come in. Because if Nkrumah, like he said, was able to give us independence, that sent waves across Africa, that inspired other movements, similar movements across Africa. And you look at the fact that this same man was the one who was able to make the Ghanaian political system in such a way that, and pardon me to say this on Founders Day, but he made the Ghanaian political system such in a way that there was no other way of bringing change on board than to go through a military coup. Because there was no avenue for anybody who was as intellectual as he was to be voted for or to be voted in, and the only way to
so we were more becoming a one-party state
to bring change was through the barrel of a gun. And we all know the kind of people who held the barrel of the gun at the time, and how
so are you saying that he pushed them to do what they did?
What I mean is that even if he didn't push them per se, that was the only other way of bringing change on board. And that, you can see, brought about a series of other coups all over the African continent. Because if we can confidently say that Nkrumah inspired independence in Ghana, what is to say that Nkrumah didn't inspire all the coups? Because if the greatest Kwame Nkrumah had been overthrown by a coup, then who was Kenneth Kaunda? Who was any other African leader elsewhere? And because of that, if all of these things have inspired all these coups that have made Africa raided by plunderers like Mobutu Sese Seko, and because of that, Africa is so inferior that we are getting handouts from IMF on a daily basis, and everybody is portraying Africa in a wrong way. And the BBC, like he is saying, is one of the news media outlets out there who is really portraying Africa in a bad way. Then I think that we are feeling inferior, and no matter what he said on that platform on the day on Polo Grounds that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs, we have realized today that the black man is not capable. We have realized today that the black man has become not capable, especially because of some of his actions that have spiraled all the events on the continent.
Some very intelligent arguments there, but, well, I don't know. Nkrumah the greatest, Nkrumah not the greatest. Well, let's take some of your messages on social media. Let's start off with Facebook. And this morning there was a post there that read, is Kwame Nkrumah really the greatest Ghana has produced? Or it is an issue of, quote, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Okay, so that was the post. Let's see some of the messages you have there. We can start off with Ernest Eyim, who says Kwame Nkrumah is bigger than Ghana. He's the greatest African of the 20th century. Well, as acknowledged by the BBC, you add, he's the most influential African ever. Go ask the US Congress, go to the AU Congress, and you will see your answer. If you think otherwise, it is only because he's a prophet not honored in his own homeland. Okay, Daoud Abdulaziz says, no, he was great, but not the greatest. I believe that it was a collaborative effort from other selfless Ghanaians, as at the time, together with Nkrumah, who toiled to make Ghana a good nation. The issue is that he was spearheading the agenda due to his educational status, as at the time. Ghana has produced a lot of great people, and only God knows what he has for them. Mark Morrison says, for a moment, he became autocratic, but he's also the greatest president Ghana has ever come across, as you are yet to see a challenger. Okay, well, is the president not a challenger? I'm talking about President Mahama. But moving on, Abdullahi Bukari Baba says his vision was to unite Africa, not just only Ghana. Beam forefather Nkrumah Beam. Okay, well, some gun salutes there. Apu Siga says Bui Hydro Project, which was built by two different governments, couldn't stand the test of time, but look at Kosombo, it is still serving Ghana. Nkrumah was interested in good name, and that's why his children cannot boast of multi-billion inheritance. Rocky Yeboah Richard says he's indeed the greatest man ever. Kwesi Kwa Sparrow says, if modern Ghana still depends on his achievements, what else do you want to know? He is the greatest. I'll take two more comments. Ampon Kwame says, I think yes, because he was very selfless and dedicated in serving Ghana and Africa as a whole. James Kwesi Abadum says he was not the greatest for Ghana alone, but Africa at large. Now we hit the streets to get your thoughts on this particular subject matter, and guess where we went to? Jamestown.
I can say Kwame Nkrumah is the best material for Africa.
Do you believe in Ghana now?
Ghana now, tribalism and greediness and selfishness is a Ghana now. Kwame time we don't have that time, but all the line, Kwame, nobody's about mistake. He did a few mistakes, but we have to correct all this. The thing he brought is preventive detention. That's spoil the community policy. To me, today, what we saw today, selfishness, greediness, stealing, one day to become a rich. So-called business tycoons, they are all thieves. Our judges are bribe, corruption, and all these things.
I believe in Ghana because it's our country and we have nothing left apart from Ghana. We have to make Ghana a better place for us to live. Nkrumah, as you say, is the best of the persons we have as president. For now, maybe in future we might have a great son similar to him. But for now, because his thought and ideas at those times, when you compare to today, is far better. Because those of today always think about their stomach and nothing more else. But Nkrumah was not fighting for his stomach, but he's rather fighting for Ghana, for a better nation.
I'm a Ghanaian. That's why I believe in Ghana. Whatever Nkrumah has done up to now, we still enjoy in it. First of all, let's take something like Akosombo Dam. He's still benefiting us, and looking at his achievement, it's a lot. Kolebu, building Kolebu, as at now, so many other African countries, neighboring countries depend on Kolebu to survive. And as for Nkrumah achievement, it's a lot. If I said I'm naming it, I don't think anyone has done anything better compared to Nkrumah.
We really need a leader. We don't need a president. Nkrumah was a leader, you understand? Nkrumah was a leader who has a vision. Most of our presidents now, they don't have vision. All that they know is like, let's maintain Ghana, let's do maintenance. And doing maintenance is very difficult. But when you have a vision that this is what I want to do, you will do it. Understand? Yes. But now, I believe one way or the other, we will one day have a leader as Nkrumah.
I was born in Ghana, then I came and meet, but I didn't come and meet Nkrumah. But I came and meet those presidents like the Rawlings, Kufuor, Atta Mills, and whatever the recent president we have now. Okay,
so by looking at all of them and what you've heard about Nkrumah, do you think he's the greatest Ghana has ever had?
Kwame Nkrumah is the best president ever. I've thought about the history, past events about Kwame Nkrumah, because when we talk about Kwame Nkrumah, a lot of infrastructure he put up in Ghana. It means he is the best ever.
So those are your streets, and I particularly like that portion where the guy mentions we need a leader, not a president. And I'm asking, why don't you have a leader already? But anyway, let's move on and do some other issues now. And there's some new movements making rounds on social media. It's called National Anas Mask Day. I don't know whether you've heard of it or probably seen it, but yes, it's seriously trending on social media. Now, it was started by one lady, Clara Berry, who is managing partner at Casa Law Firm. Now, let me pull up that post on her Facebook page so that you can just get some sort of understanding as to what Anas that particular day is about. Now, it says we should declare September 22, 2015 a National Anas Mask Day. Now, on September 22, which is tomorrow, we should all wear our Anas-like masks to demonstrate that we stand together with Anas and against corruption. Let this be the beginning when we as a people take a decision that we will each in our own small way and in our own small corner resist corruption as well as fight corruption. That is how to say thank you to Anas for risking your comfort and your life to expose corruption wherever it is. Well, it goes on to say a lot more, but yeah, for now I think we can make do with just that particular portion.